If you are a teacher, parent, administrator, student, and/or anyone who loves reconnecting children with nature, and you want to figure out how to cultivate learning gardens and nature-based curriculum, then this is the podcast, the Outdoor Classrooms podcast. My name is Victoria Hackett. I am the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com and the Secret Gardens Nature Classes. I love witnessing the magic that happens when children are playfully learning outdoors. Observing the return of wonder and curiosity when children are interacting with nature is pure magic. This is the podcast that is going to help you capture children's interest and give you not only inspiration, but some real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to use the outdoor space, your outdoor space, as a teaching tool, so you can enlighten the playful learning experience for young children. Welcome to our Outdoor Classrooms community. Hey everybody, I just want to tell you a little bit of a backstory of how our new Outdoor Classrooms teacher certification program came to be. We are launching it in January. Our first classes will begin in January. We're going to be getting everybody registered in December. But I want to let you know that this certification program actually came from our community. So we had an amazing circle member that asked me a question and said, Victoria, I love your work. I love our community, and my school is asking me to get certified. And I'm wondering if you have a certification program. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, yeah, we kind of do, actually. We have our boot camp, which introduces the 5 phases of teaching outdoors, which really offers a framework and a guide to answer that question that educators constantly ask me, which is, where do I start? So what I did was I went back and I revamped that entire course, adding assessment tools to each of the 5 phases of teaching outdoors. And then I realized that we were all going through, I had created these 4 seasonal master classes for each season to look at each of the 4 types of teaching gardens, which is an amazing way to look at our outdoor classrooms through these various teaching gardens. So I combined these teaching gardens with the seasons to really figure out how could we spend more time outdoors in these various areas that we've created. So then I created this bundle, which was the Explore Nature Seasonal Masterclass Bundle. So this really allows educators to dive deeper into teaching outdoors all year round and how to do that. And then I realized that, to really make it a certificate program, we've got to dig deep as educators to become mentors, to become advocates, to become leaders in this nature-based education movement. And that's my vision. My vision is to truly have every child in every school to have access to an outdoor classroom. And in order to do that, we need to train our educators and get them excited to teach outdoors. And the way I see it and the way I do it is through these 4 types of gardens. And then, so what I created was this, Teaching Beyond Walls, it being a capstone course. And this is a course where educators can really dig in deep into their own final project and really come up with their own pedagogy. Researching others' pedagogies and really coming into their own pedagogy, and therefore truly becoming advocates, mentors, leaders in this movement, which is what we need. We need to come together as educators and move our classrooms outdoors, because all the research and the research is telling us this is what we need to do. We need to start raising children that are going to take care of our earth, because it's not doing so well right now. So again, I am so over the moon about this program. It has come together absolutely beautifully. But I wanted to let you know that it's not necessarily something that I dreamed up behind the scenes here. It's actually what I love most about it is that it has come from our community. It was a ask. It was a big ask. And so what I did was I wanted to fulfill that ask, and I'm so everly grateful to our community. And you know who you are, who asked me that question. And I'm forever grateful because it really enabled me to get clear on if I was to create an outdoor classroom certificate program, what would it look like? And I think what we do here at Outdoor Classrooms is very, very unique. It's not necessarily for a school. It is truly using this framework of the 4 types of gardens to look at our outdoor spaces within that framework. And it's dynamite. So again, I hope you can join us. I'm so looking forward to unveiling more details about this. We'll talk soon. This was the most amazing interview with 2 incredible educators. Maxine and Brianna are both nature-based educators from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan in Canada. And they are teachers. Maxine currently teaches kindergarten with a place-based pedagogy, infusing her passion for gardening, land-based teaching, and experiential learning into her class. Brianna currently teaches grade 1 with an inquiry-based lens, incorporating place-based learning and outdoor adventures into her literacy-focused classroom. They are both passionate about sharing their experiences with outdoor learning and hope to inspire others to get outside with their students and soak up a little sunshine. Without further ado, Maxine and Brianna. Hello, everybody. We have Maxine and Brianna here, and they are nature-based educators, and I cannot wait to learn more about them. And I'd love maybe both of you can give a brief introduction of yourselves. And we'll start there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maxine Panchuk, and I grew up on a farm in Saskatchewan, and I now live in the city of Saskatoon. This is my 4th year teaching kindergarten, my 2nd year at a school that has a nature and outdoor-based focus. Before coming to this school, I was engaged with a lot of place-based learning and a lot of land-based learning. I used to teach middle years, and I've slowly made my way down to our youngest learners, and I've absolutely found my happy place in kindergarten. One of my favorite things in the whole world is plants. So I'm a great big gardener. I love to garden at home, and I also love to garden at school as well, both inside and outside.
My name is Brianna Aubin. I actually grew up in Calgary, Alberta. So I was a city dweller for a long time and recently moved to Saskatoon and have been here for the last 3 years. This is also my 2nd year teaching at a school with a nature and outdoor focus. And I teach grade 1, so still early learners. Lots of focus on literacy while also focusing on nature and being outside. I have started dabbling more into serious gardening. We recently grew a watermelon with great success. So we're hoping to keep that rolling and keep growing, keep learning alongside the kiddos and just growing my practice and my passion for this sort of
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the Outdoor Classrooms podcast. I would love to learn more about your outdoor classroom. And can we start with the setup, how it might be set up?
Absolutely. So for kindergarten, our kindergarten and pre-K students have use of a fenced-in outdoor classroom area. So for kindergarten, we start and end every day in the outdoor classroom, except for if it's less than -27 with the wind chill. We are outside in all weather. In our fenced-in area, we have a little mud kitchen. We have a tree house. We have some stumps for learning. And it's kind of just a safe space where our youngest learners can come and kind of explore the outdoors, and for us teachers, a little bit of a stress-free environment. Then in the front of our school, we kind of have 4 learning spaces. So we have 2 grass mounds that face towards the school, and they each have a couple of big rocks. And then we also have 2 circles of stumps that can be used. So all teachers in our school from pre-kindergarten to grade 8, we're often outside learning. And Brianna will tell you a little bit about some of our other spaces.
Yeah, so we also have lots of space in our back schoolyard. We have a circle of benches underneath some trees. That's a really great learning spot. We added another circle of stumps at the back this year. And we are very fortunate to have right on the other side of our fence a community pollinator garden that they very graciously let us use and learn in. So all native plants, pathways. It has a couple different seating areas, a little free library, and it's a space that we utilize quite frequently.
And while we have these spaces at school, we're also constantly using spaces within the community as well. So we are just a couple blocks away from a beautiful park that has lots of old, mature trees. It has a playground. It's got lots of great spaces for learning. And then we'll also travel to other locations in the city as well. So we're about a 20-minute walk away from Gabriel Dumont Park, which is along the South Saskatchewan River. So you can often find our students and teachers out there as well.
How wonderful. I mean, I love that you're not just staying on your own campus, that you are really taking children out into the community, that you're using your local parks. I think it's a wonderful message for our listeners to sort of hear that an outdoor classroom doesn't necessarily have to be, right outside your door. You really are using such a all these different habitats, which I love. So speaking of that, can you tell me a little bit about your daily routines and how they incorporate your outdoor learning?
As I mentioned, the kindergarten students, we always start our day outside and every teacher does something different. But for my class, we're outside for about the first 15 to 20 minutes of the day, doing a soft landing and free choice play. Then we migrate into what I call our important learning routine. So we will either do that on the front lawn, the back lawn, or we might head to the pollinator garden. We kind of take a peek at what the weather is like. Is it windy? Is it sunny? And find a space that will allow us to be outside. And then with that important learning routine, that's where we do a sharing circle, a stretching song. We do our ABCs, learning the letter names and sounds. We'll do some subitizing and we'll dig into Haggerty to do our phonological awareness. Depending on the day, we might head inside after that, or we might stay outside to do some other things. And then the rest of the day for me in kindergarten is really dependent on the weather. So after morning recess, we do our writing. Today, it was quite a chilly day, so we did our writing inside. But other days, I'll take out an easel and a whiteboard and we'll take out our writing books and we'll do our writing outdoors. We'll often go outside with magnifying glasses and binoculars and kind of just explore the world around us. On Fridays, my students always do phys ed outside with our gym teacher. So I love to peek at them through the window and see what they're up to. So for me, every day is a little bit different, but we always start the day outside with that free choice play.
Yeah, and my routine is very similar with a few adjustments for that 1 year kind of older. They have a bit of stamina. I love getting her nice trained up little learners who are used to.
That's what I don't say. They feed, they feed into the next class. Absolutely.
They truly do. It is incredible. So we also start our day outside every morning. And we usually find a circle of stumps somewhere. We have a morning meeting and do our phonological and phonemic awareness outside. It's a nice soft landing as well for those late stragglers. They just kind of naturally join in. And then, like Maxine said, given the weather, sometimes we'll do our writing outside. Sometimes we'll bring it inside. And then we usually try to have either our inquiry, so our social and science, or our math outside during the day, just depending on what we're learning, where we're at. One of those things will be outside before we go home. And then there is days where we just bring it all to a park and spend the whole day there or the whole morning and just do all of our learning in that one place.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I want to be a child there. Are there any specific activities and traditions that might be unique to your school?
We were inspired by another school in our city who started to do Fire Fridays. So we tried that out a couple times last year, and this year we have had 2 Fire Fridays, and it is maybe my favorite thing so far about the fall. So I have gone out with another class who's a little bit older, and we learn all about how to safely start a fire, kind of the routines around starting a fire. And we sit along the campfire. We've roasted marshmallows. We've drank hot chocolate. And then as we get into the routine of it, we'll also do some song singing. We'll do some campfire cooking. The opportunities truly are endless. I was at a professional development this afternoon and I was connecting with the kindergarten teacher from the other school. So my class, we're actually going to hop on the city bus and travel all the way across the city to go to her school to visit with them for one of their Fire Fridays. And then they'll come and visit us in the future as well. So I'm really loving the Fire Friday thing that we have going on.
Yeah. We also have some teachers on our primary team who spend the afternoon on Friday off-site doing some forest school type activities. So they take their two groups, head on down to Gabriel Dumont Park or near the river and do some forest school type learning and honing in on those skills. And something that our school is dabbling into and trying our best at is hosting some of our assemblies outdoors. So really questioning, do we need to be in a gym or can we do this outside in our beautiful yard connected to the natural world around us? And we found great success in it.
At the beginning of the year, we'll do our welcome back barbecue will be outside. And at the end of the year, our kindergarten celebration of learning is also taking place outside as well.
It's such that within itself is such an important piece. I was interviewing another school and during COVID, they had to sort of rethink the back to school night and they did it outdoors and it was a huge success. And I think they haven't gone back. I think they just was like, oh, this is a lot more fun. I mean, it was the the light was going down early. So the second group, they had flashlights and they said it was a blast. So really thinking about or rethinking about how we are doing these cute family school-wide events and to think outdoors. I also wanted to circle back to both of you saying that you both start your days outdoors and all the research that is just behind that simple act and how kids are starting their day outdoors is proving to be that they're going to be more relaxed. They're going to be how they're starting their day is actually having an impact, which is our next question. The benefits of outdoor learning. I know probably a lot of folks that are listening to this podcast, we're speaking to the choir, but I think it's always an important reminder to talk about the benefits of outdoor learning. Can you touch upon that and what you've seen at your school?
We've definitely seen in the morning, especially in those younger grades, just the regulation space of being outside and not immediately saying like, all right, get ready in your chair, in your desk, we're going. Just that space. Some of them need that longer sort of decompression from the morning to settle into themselves and into the space for learning and building that, free play or with our morning meeting sense of community, really, that they feel that sense of comfort and safety with the adults around them, with their peers, to set them up for success throughout the day is one thing we really see, I think, in every child, regardless of their needs or their background.
We know that going outside is good for us. It's good for the students, but it's also good for the teachers as well. I know that for me, I feel a lot less stressed out, a lot more regulated when I spend most of my day teaching outside. And I can see that effect on my students as well. We tend to attract a lot of students who might be neurodiverse, or maybe they've struggled in the regular school system. And when those students have a chance to do their learning outside, we notice that their engagement is increased. They're more regulated. They seem to be happier. They're thinking more creatively. It's just amazing. We could list off all the benefits over and over again, but we have noticed so much success with our youngest learners and even with those older students as well. They're getting a lot of benefits from being outside.
Yeah. And I love that you also said that it's important for us as educators to be and how it also calms our systems. And I think oftentimes we put ourselves on the bottom of the list and we think, oh, it's frivolous to be enjoying this so much. And I get that. People are like, well, this is just too nice, but it is a huge, and that's why I think we do what we do is because there is a magic that happens when we are outdoors. So that's fantastic. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration and integration across the grades? What does that, can you talk a little bit about that?
So in previous years, I was mentored by a teacher on how to take the city bus with grade 8 students. So a few years ago, I tried that out with kindergartners and I had great success. So now it is my mission to support any of my colleagues on taking the city bus if they would like to. So I'm happy to share those skills in taking the city bus together. We've also been doing some gardening initiatives together as well. So we applied for a grant for a food forest. And so we had kindergarten, grade 1, grade 4, and grade 7, 8 students all out on our yard, digging up the grass, planting our new shrubs and our trees. So that was really wonderful to have that community together. We have reading buddies or care partners that are going on. So we'll often do that learning outdoors. We'll do different types of field trips together. And it's really awesome to be able to go on a field trip or do outdoor learning with another teacher. And you get to learn things that they're doing that might work well. And they get a little bit to learn from you as well. So there's lots of great mentorship that's happening between staff and sharing of ideas.
Yeah, we're a really collaborative staff. This is not a building where you are an island and you're kind of on your own, fend for yourself. It's really a place where I can say, hey, I know you know a lot about this. Can you come do this with my class? Let's go together. Or Maxine very generously took me on the city bus for the first time. She was my guide and took me. And now we hop on all the time. We're always on the bus. We're going everywhere. And I'm now pulling other people to say, like, when are we going? When's our first trip?
Oh, how fun.
So just really feeding into that personal and professional development as teachers in this kind of unexplored space for some people. Some people are new to nature-based learning. Some people are not. And we're really learning and connecting with each other to build our practice for the betterment of our students.
That's fantastic. So in terms of the grades, so you all are kindergarten to how high does your
pre-kindergarten to grade 8?
To grade 8.
Yeah, so we have our youngest learners, our pre-kindergarten students. You will see them going on a big walk down to the river. You will see them catching the city bus. The same things that the older students are doing, our youngest learners are also learning how to do it as well. So when they come to me in kindergarten, they already know about crossing the street safely. They've had a little bit of exposure to eating their snack outside. They've got just that little bit of extra grit and stamina if they've been in our pre-K program. And it's been really cool to watch the students. I've only been here for a couple of years, but watching the students as they kind of grow up through the grades and how you can dig deeper into the things that they learned. One of our grade 2-3 teachers, every Wednesday is their go day. And so some of those kids have been at our school for a couple of years. So they are just ready to rock and roll, hit the community, do really cool things in nature. It's amazing.
Wow. And so you really do have that continuity between, and you were saying, Brianna, you were saying trained, they're trained. And I believe that. I was working with a school and it's really getting them when they're very, very young. And it's a mindset. I think if kids are used to going outside in all weather and the families are used to, they're going to send the right clothes. They're going to send the right food. But the benefits, they're eating better. They're just feeling so much better. But it takes a little bit of mindset shift and training. And I love that you are all kind of working together and doing that as like one big family. Like, yeah, we're in this and the kids grow. And I love that it's not just also one person in your school. It sounds like everybody's sort of bought in. It sounds like the dream we all want, that we're all aiming for.
We do ask ourselves, am I seriously getting paid to do this right now? It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, there's so many schools out there that are fighting this. I mean, we just had Ray Pika on and she's on our podcast now. We had a whole discussion about play and how kids today are not playing. And they're not spending time outdoors. Their most favorite place to be is indoors because they're close to the sockets of what Richard Love would be talking about. But I would love to learn more about maybe some of the challenges that you've experienced and maybe some of the solutions that you've come up with. I'd love to hear, because we all have challenges, right? It's not.
Yes.
One of the biggest challenges is students arriving to school prepared with the proper gear for outdoor learning. So as much as we talk about the students needing to be prepared for this, the parents and the families also need to have a little shift as well. So the first day that it rains, we go out for a rain walk. You're outside for just long enough where people are cold, wet, and a little bit miserable, maybe even the teacher too. And then you're able to stop and pause and think about, what gear and clothing do we need if it is raining out? Should we be jumping in the puddles at the beginning of the day so that our stuff is soaking wet all day and we're cold, wet, and miserable? Or what kind of choices can we make in the morning with that wet weather where we can survive all day? Also, like we live in Saskatchewan, I'm not sure if it was just this snowfall that was 25 centimeters or if it was the combined two we had this week, but there is a lot of snow. Today, already. It is a winter wonderland. Today it was like minus 36 with the wind chill. I walked to my professional development because there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing choices. And so we really have to kind of, help the students learn how to gear up for the weather and the parents too, because we have some students who might not have access to quality winter clothing. They might be new to Canada, so they've never seen ski pants before. The kids are putting them on backwards or they're just wearing just their ski pants to school with nothing underneath. And so what we do have is we have a gear locker where we have some clothing and equipment that was donated by the community. So we're able to properly gear up the kids. And I mean, for kindergarten, if your boots don't have the elastic band over top of them, that's on them to make sure that they either learn how to do it or ask for help to get dressed up to go. So I think clothing can be one of the biggest challenges, but there is ways around that with practice. So we start targeting that as soon as the weather starts to get a little bit chilly so that when it is minus 36 out, we have the proper stuff and the kids know what to do.
So your rain walk, is that an intentional walk of we want to get really wet? So there's a lesson here.
Yes.
It's kind of an intentional rain walk lesson.
I rolled up with flip-flops that day and no jacket and a skirt. So I think I did that last year too. So I was a huge example to the students. So yeah, there's always teachable moments throughout everything that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think being really intentional and really honest with them. There will be times where we start to shift into fall where they'll start saying, so we're going inside this morning. And usually the first day they ask that is the first day we make sure we're outside a little bit longer. And really just showing them that like we don't cave just when something is different or when something has changed. We talk about how to adapt ourselves, our programming, our learning to make it comfortable and safe. And then they start to learn and grow. Like they realized the first 2 days that it was a little bit chillier out, that Mrs. Aubin was serious. We're actually not going inside this morning. We're staying out. So they started wearing 2 pairs of mitts. Maybe they brought 2 pairs of socks, and they take that personal responsibility on. We talk a lot about they're not your mom's mitts or they're not your parents' mitts. They're your mitts. So if your fingers are cold today, what are you bringing tomorrow? Mitts. Like we always make sure they're safe. We have that gear locker in case, but really training, maybe not training, but teaching them that you need to listen to your body. You need to know what is right for you. And they're old enough. Like they are independent little people who can advocate for what they need and make sure it works for them.
The best tips I got was from another staff member is those icy days. We actually have them wear their backpacks when we go on our adventures, because if they do slip, that backpack is going to be there to prevent their head from hitting the ice. And so we also usually always try to take our backpacks with us. We'll learn to take out the stuff you don't need so that they can have layers of clothing in their backpack so they can pull out what they need when they need. And then they also learn always take your water bottle.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just like, so again, I want to just go back to, I've worked with a lot of schools and it's just amazing that everybody's on board. And so how does that happen? I mean, do you just hire the right people? They've hired the right people, or there's a culture that I do want to get back to the challenges, but I'm just kind of want to go back to that. I mean, it's amazing that you've got everybody is really embraced this style way of teaching, which is absolutely fantastic.
It is. And I think there is a combination of things. It's not one thing to say, this is the magic that made it happen. But I know for myself as someone who didn't come in as experienced, as knowledgeable in this area, being around other people who are passionate about it and who are giving you permission to say, like, let that stress go. being able to go and say, oh, like today we only did this and I feel like I don't have a worksheet, to send home to show that we did this. And they can kind of talk you through and say like, they learned this, they showed you this, you taught them this. Just really opens you up to say like, oh, wow, I'm okay. They're learning. And so it might not be your entire staff, but I think even having one or two people to open that has opened my mind. And now I can be that for other people. And it slowly sort of builds in that way.
I know for myself, I filled out an expression of interest form that I was interested in nature and outdoor-based learning. And when they called me and asked what my dream position would be, I said, well, outdoor kindergarten would be amazing. And here I am with my dream job. But I know that other folk, they didn't apply for this school. They kind of just ended up here. And so for them, there might be more of a learning curve where they're not quite sure how to do things yet, but we're all in this together. So we're sharing when we can. We're, communicating with each other. If problems come up, we're trying to help navigate those together as a team. And everyone is where they're at. And so we just have to welcome people with the knowledge they know. And everyone has a little something different to offer. So, I'm a big plant person. Someone else might have lots of forest school skills. Someone might be really into animals. Like we've got a lady who loves fish and has a snake and an axolotl and those sorts of things. But, we all bring our own little bit, and together we're kind of this, mulch pile full of interesting humans doing interesting things.
Oh, I really do. And so with that, now you've got pre-K to 8th grade and balancing your curriculum. So how do the curriculum requirements? This is the question I get over and over and over from, I've got so much curriculum to meet. How can I do that outside? It's going to take so much time to get outside. How does that work? And how have you mastered that?
I don't know if there's ever mastering, but I think we have it kind of figured out a little bit. And just really taking a step back is sort of what helped me. I think traditionally in teacher preparation programs and in very traditional schools, all your subjects are individual things. You sit, you do social, and then you stop, and then you do writing. And taking a step back and really looking at it holistically of like, what do we want you to learn at the end of the day? And how can we get there through these natural experiences? So one thing as a newer teacher that I've been able to build in my practice is when we go to the park and there's an arborist in a bucket truck trimming a tree, well, we're going to stop whatever we were doing and we're going to talk about that. And knowing your curriculum allows you to say, I didn't have a worksheet made for today to do science for this 30 minutes, but I know in the curriculum we talk about seasonal changes and adaptations for plants to survive. So we just hit that with this arborist here for us to look at, talk about, experience. And so taking that holistic approach and also knowing your curriculum really opens that door and allows you to do more rich learning outside than sometimes you might even get inside.
You're speaking my language. Yes, that's beautiful.
I don't think I've made a lesson plan all year.
Oh.
I kind of look outside to see what's going on and a little bit go from there. But, we can go outside and we're exploring ecosystems. We're exploring weather patterns. We're exploring the biodiversity of the place that we call home. We're doing math outside. We could be counting pine cones. We're measuring things. We're looking at different shapes that are in the outdoor environment. We're outside and listening to stories. Students are reading books, writing stories. All of that can easily be incorporated outside. And then for me, it's really important to be incorporating Indigenous and Métis culture, perspectives, and worldviews. And there's no better way to do that than actually being on the land, learning from the land. And the students are so engaged, captivated by all the things that we're doing. And sometimes their interest will guide where it takes us as well. If there's a crow that's screeching above us, whatever we were doing, we might stop and now we're talking about birds. If a kid picks up a cool plant, okay, well, that's led into that conversation as well. And knowing the curriculum, I have a lot of confidence and freedom to just kind of go with the flow where it takes us.
It sounds like a dream. You guys have really exceptional. It's just exceptional. I love it. And I love this. I love the sequence and how they're really sort of really learning so much in their younger years and then evolving through the grades. I think that's just beautiful. And I love how you have really you really use the nature and the outdoors as this expansive classroom, and that it seems like your indoor classroom is a space that sort of there, but you spend a lot of the time outdoors.
Yep. My indoor classroom is full of a lot of outdoor things. I've become a pine cone collector. So I have quite the collection of pine cones, but inside is where I store the tools and the materials I'm going to need for outdoor learning. But we also bring nature inside as well. So, there might be goats cruising through the school, or most of our classrooms have vermicomposting. So we have worm bins. So we're doing lots of composting inside. We're bringing lots of nature and environment themed books inside. I've got lots of different feathers and rocks and bones and all sorts of stuff inside that the students can learn about nature and outdoors while we're still inside.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, inspiration, practical tips for our listeners. Is there any advice that you have for educators and parents that want to either get into outdoor learning, or if they want to up level their outdoor teaching practice?
I would say my first tip would be to start small and build your confidence with it. So when I started teaching kindergarten, the first outdoor thing we did is every day we were outside after recess and we would just stop before we went inside and spend 10 minutes to do our Haggerty, our phonological awareness. And then we started adding on where I would read a story outside. So starting small and building the routine and the confidence with that is great. Set realistic goals for yourself. You might not be able to be outside all day. It might just be a few minutes. Every extra time you are outside, give yourself a pat on the back. Well done. A little bit extra there. And don't be afraid to try wild things. It might not work out. It might be a total flop. But through those mistakes, through those challenges, you're learning. So now I know before I read a story, I make sure all the kids keep your feet still. So they're not like rubbing in the gravel or picking grass. I've learned that through experience. What went well, what didn't go well, and kind of building from that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for everyone, parents, kids, teachers, is to really embrace the wonder. I think as adults, we lose that a little bit and we're like, oh, this plant is really cool, but I'm supposed to be teaching you about this right now, so I can't get distracted. And the magic that happens when we stop and are like, that is so cool, let's talk about it, is just unmatched. You really can't. And it inspires the kids to show them that, that's not a bad thing. You don't have to fit into this little box. You are allowed to wonder and be curious and learn about it in your own way and with your passion.
I've been reading the book with Kath Murdoch. She's all about inquiry, and it's literally an ABC of inquiry. And every day I've been looking at a different letter, and it's these words like pause, wonder. So it's just fascinating to really think about that in terms of our teaching practice and how, and I love that it's sort of like we're speaking the same language here, because you just, the word wonder, it's in itself, and pause, and that we can pause, because if we don't have that pause and we're teaching our kids to be in this little box, that's not nature-based education. And I love that you're using, the emergent curriculum, listening to the children, and all of that is like, and I love how you applied that to a compost bin where, that we all bring a little bit of something. And I think that makes community. And I think the essence of that's like almost the common denominator for me is that we, in essence, are teaching our children to be in community, and also in community of being outdoors. And that's sort of part of our community as well. So I'm just so excited that our paths have crossed. Is there any other tips for incorporating outdoor activities into maybe a traditional classroom? If we have any folks that are listening.
I guess you could ask yourself, does it have to be done inside? And why am I doing it inside? I know there's been times when I wanted to wimp out and do a thing inside. And when I'm thinking about that, my principal will come by and he's like, why are you staying inside? And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I could do it outside. So always asking yourself, what is keeping me inside and why?
I think another big thing, if you're in a less maybe supportive environment or you're newer to this, is to pick something you feel really confident in and really strong in and bring that outside. Because then you don't have to worry about those other things you already know. You know, I'm really good at science. I've taught this 100 times. And then you can worry about kind of the new being outside and not everything all at once. I think especially in primary land, there's a lot of things to worry about with tiny people. And so not having all of that energy going to the actual content you're teaching can make it a little bit easier those first few times.
And we know that students thrive on structure and routine and explicit instruction. So just like how I have routines for inside the school, I also have routines for outside the school as well. So there's certain ways that we do certain things. When we're outside, we line our backpacks up in a nice straight line. It's easy for me to count. It's easy for the kids to know which backpack is theirs. I will explicitly say, before crossing the street, here's how we cross the street. Later on, I have the students reiterate that to me. So just being very explicit in your instruction. And when you're first starting out, assume that they know nothing. Assume they have never walked on a sidewalk before. They have never seen a live animal before, and explicitly share those things, and they will catch on to that.
And then doing it in the younger years, it's like a training, and it's so well done. What is the training like that you all get in terms of professional? You mentioned that you went to professional development today. Are you making
minimal? I would say there's definitely opportunities, at least where we are, that teachers can seek out their own professional development. So there's a couple conferences that are hosted in Saskatchewan that bring like-minded nature outdoor-based teachers together, which are great opportunities. I know for some other people, like Facebook groups are amazing because then you're connecting beyond your city or your province and pulling in those ideas. But some of it is just making your own professional development, I find, and saying like, what do I need? And then seeking that out. Like, I am not as much of a plant expert. So that's something I will seek out to say like, oh, Meewasin, which is a nonprofit in our city, is hosting on a Saturday a native plant walk. That might be something I go to build that knowledge for myself.
Brilliant.
For me, I have learned so much through podcasts. So your podcast has been one. I think I've listened to almost every episode. I've learned a ton from you and from your guests. I'm also a big fan of Lauren McLean's podcast, Teach Outdoors. Learned a lot from her. And then some folks in our city and Lloydminster have also started one, the Teaching Outdoors podcast. So being able to listen to folks who have been doing this for a long time and their special guests, I've learned tons of stuff from podcasts. And those are easy to put on in the background while you're doing whatever it is you might be doing.
I love it. Is there anything else that we did not touch upon? You all are, I'm bowing to you. You're doing it. And I just love it. It just makes me so happy. And I wish, my dream is that every child in every school has access to an outdoor classroom. That is my vision. That is my dream. And even if it's in a backyard, but I truly believe there is a magic that happens. And I truly believe if we can get more educators like yourself or more schools that are truly, really understand the value of starting the children as young as they are and really training. I mean, it is training. It's like learning how to walk on a sidewalk, learning how to go outside, and then moving through the years is absolutely a dream. And I just want to thank you so much for your work. But is there anything else before we sort of say our goodbyes that you would like to share with our listeners?
I think you don't need an outdoor classroom to go outside. You just need a little outdoor space. And if you happen to be in a big city where that happens to be a piece of tarmac, there's still going to be living things there that you can observe and reflect with. So don't be afraid to get a little wild and weird and just get out there and try it with whatever little space of land you have.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think to just give yourself grace. It can be hard just being a teacher on its own. And so giving yourself some grace to say, like, you know what, today I was not my best. Maybe today they were not their best, but tomorrow's a new day. And just because one day is a flop, it doesn't mean that outdoor learning is not worth it or is not valuable. It just means that, like teaching, sometimes it's hard, but you're doing amazing. And even when it doesn't turn out, they're learning something from it and they're experiencing something really incredible.
And don't be afraid to just let them go outside and play and explore on their own. Through that, they can learn so much from just their own choices that they're making. So if your first times when you go outside, if they're just having free time doing whatever, they're still learning something. And know that we have different capacities on different days. So don't think you can do everything all the time, every day. We kind of ebb and flow just like a river.
Yeah. Ah, I love that. And my father would say, you can't have the highs unless you've had the lows. So it would be abnormal to sustain it for that long. So I love that. And I loved also your comment, Maxine, when you said, embrace the failures, because that's where so much of those rich lessons are coming from. And so not being afraid of failing. So if this is sort of a newer experience for you to don't worry. And I love, Brianna, how you were saying, give yourself grace. It's just teaching is hard, especially now. So I want to thank you so much for your time, for all your work. And if anybody wanted to learn more about your program or find you, this will all be in the show notes, but where could they find you?
I have an Instagram account and a Teachers Pay Teachers where I post some things that I've made for free or for like $1. And that's the teaching Taurus, like the horoscope sign, the Taurus. So I can be found on Instagram and people can send me a message and I'm happy to share tons of resources and ideas.
Yeah, you can also find our school on Instagram, BV Nature Based School. And that's a little kind of peek into what we're up to, what we're doing, steal our ideas away. You know, maybe it's that little boost you need to say, oh, they got out there and it's minus 36 today. You know, I think we can read a story outside.
What are your winters like? Really cold?
Very long, very cold, very snowy, very dark.
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, we have the worst winters. It's terrible here, but it's your attitude about the winter. You know, it's sunny, so that's great, but our winters are probably like as bad as they get. So if we can get out here doing it, then surely some other folks can get out there as well.
I'm convinced that the folks that have the worst winters are the happiest people. There's
something to it. You know, we got grit
and stamina to get through it.
Yeah, you do. It's amazing. Again, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. And we've loved chatting with you.
Thank you.